How do you define entrepreneurial excellence? Like, what does that actually mean to you as an excellent entrepreneur?
I mean, I don't know if I'm an excellent entrepreneur. I think maybe my definition that I'm particularly, where I look for in entrepreneurs is, are they doing work only they can do? Are they doing something that they were put on this planet to do that nobody else can, that other people find value in, right? I think we've over-rotated a little bit on this idea, like, we've got this sort of hustle porn of like, you got to grind and it's got to be painful and it's got to be terrible. I think that the best entrepreneurs do the work that feels in some ways fun and easy for them and hard and valuable for other people, right? And if you can find that pocket, then like nobody can compete with you. And I think that's a big part of what I've searched through in my journey as an entrepreneur and what I look for in other entrepreneurs that I invest in or refer or work with in whatever capacity.
How do you really find, though, something that is truly unique or differentiating? And so what I mean there specifically is I find so many entrepreneurs, they might be doing things that they might think work only they can do. But the truth is like, it's a derivative of something else. Like very few of us are building rockets to go to Mars or something truly life-changing. And frankly, no offense to myself or you or anyone else, very few of us are building things that are going to be remembered in the long term. How does that entrepreneur know they're really building something that work only they can do that's truly unique and differentiated?
Well, yeah, I think remembered is again, this is something, earlier in my life and career, I was like, oh, I want to have a legacy. I care about being remembered. There's remembered in the history books or Wikipedia, which like, you go back enough years and there's very, very few people in all of history that get remembered. Doesn't matter how impressive you were during your lifetime. I think it's more important, to say like, are you being remembered by a group of people in a meaningful way, right? Are you having an impact on people's lives? My mom is a teacher. I remember like growing up, going to church with my mom and kids who she taught to read, right? She would teach reading recovery. She would teach kids that like were behind a couple of grade levels of reading. And she would see them 10 years later when they were like going to university. That level of impact, the idea that you have that kind of impact on somebody's life, like she is remembered by those people. I think more entrepreneurs, if they start with the idea of like, how do I have that level of life-changing impact? How am I remembered by a few people in a very, very meaningful way? That's the seed of something, because that's the seed of what only you can do. Now, it might only be in a relatively small niche. It might only be in a relatively, small location to start, and that's okay. That's where everything, that's where things cascade from, right? And if you start to say, okay, well, I've got a seed of something and I've really impacted somebody's life in this really meaningful way, what other people have that same problem or look like that person, and how do I replicate that? But I think we spend a lot of energy trying to figure out how to do something ambitious at a global scale, but at a surface level of depth. And I think the most rewarding entrepreneurial journeys start with like that very, very niche of like, I'm gonna change somebody's life and then figure out how to scale it from there.
And maybe that is the definition of excellence, that you actually changed at least one life. I'm putting words in your mouth a little bit, but maybe that is the definition of it.
Yeah, I think it's a good starting point, and it's one that maybe is a little bit, ironically, I think we think about scale and technology scale, and especially with AI. But I think one of the things AI allows you to do is think about the impact that you can have on one person's life and figure out how to scale that in an actual high touch way. And I think that's kind of one of the unique things that we're able to do now that we might not have been able to do 5 years ago.
So kind of a good segue. We obviously need to talk about Bordy, since Bordy's on this call with us as well. I don't know how many podcasts Bordy has been on or how many podcasts have had an AI join them on it. But certainly it's unique for me to have that be the case. And it feels a little amazing, but also a little dystopian that is the future. And obviously we need to talk about Bordy HF0, getting it, being a partner, like probably replacing VCs potentially in the future. What made you decide to sort of start Bordy in like, you're coming from a banking finance background, right? You're starting ClearCo. Why go build Bordy to be sort of an AI connector?
Well, yeah, if you think about, I'm an engineer. I studied engineering. I've always been interested in sort of applying technology to improve people's lives and improve the world. I think one area, a lot of my early career was focused on, I'm Canadian, so connecting the sort of emerging Canadian Toronto Waterloo ecosystem to Silicon Valley. I've always liked helping the underdogs. Like I've always considered myself a little bit of an underdog, and helping people who are underestimated get access to opportunities. Because I think people, when you find somebody who was underestimated their whole life and you give them an opportunity they wouldn't have otherwise gotten, they make the most of that opportunity. and they end up producing great returns as an investor. They end up producing a huge amount of impact. Clearco, in a lot of ways, that was the mission, was like, hey, there's going to be this whole new emerging ecosystem of entrepreneurs and people that could sell products online and find their customers. How do we unlock access to capital? They can't all go and pitch the 2 Silicon Valley firms that were writing checks to, consumer brands. Their local banks didn't understand what a scalable online brand looked like. And so how do we bridge that gap? And so Boardy is just an extension in some ways of that, is like, how do I find people around the world who have something special about them? How do I help them discover what makes them unique and special? What is the work that only they can do? And how do I introduce them to people that can help advance that, who need that help? That is, increasingly it's access to capital, but it's customers, media attention, talent that might have only applied to Google or OpenAI, and now they realize there's a bunch of other really interesting opportunities out there that might be more compelling. That's a big part of the mission. It's an extension of like, how do you just help the best people who would have otherwise not gotten those opportunities to show what they can do.